How do I look?
You look hot.
Okay.
Very
Now I
good.
just wanted in this video, I'm with Mama over here, and she's recording for me today. We're going to go do some grocery shopping and everything, but today was a heavy day for squats, and I've been running this little program I made up that I felt like was going to really help me, and so far it's been tremendous for reinforcing good form and being able to control my reps more. You know, a lot of people, they get too strong too quick, maybe from doing a lot of heavy work a lot, and what happens is they get really strong, but their form breaks down under a lot of tension and a lot of reps. Eventually their form starts breaking down, and this is where you get a lot of people who get injured, whether it's their knees or their back, or hell, when they're benching and it's their arms or whatever. A lot of this stuff comes down to not having good form and not having good control over the weight you're doing. It's like when you see those videos of people when you'll see like a video of some dude like heavy squatting or heavy deadlifting, and their back would just be rounded as fuck, and it's like, yeah, you can pick that weight up, but at the expense of what, you know? So, but so far the little program I've been running has been good. I went from being able to do about 345 for 3 to 385 for 3 on my top sets, and I'm not gonna lie, man, I was really nervous going into it. I've never really touched that kind of weight before on squat. Today was 385 for 3. My back down sets 345 for 3 sets of 5. I did some pause squats, and I'll say don't sleep on the variations for the big lifts, because that's what's going to really reinforce the tension. I know it's boring, and for me, that's why I couldn't never stick to, you know, doing pause squats and doing tempo bench press, Larson bench, Spoto press. You know, I could never really dedicate myself to anything besides actually performing bench press, squat, performing the lifts itself. But once I started introducing variations, that's what's really been helping me skyrocket my lifts, is just having overall better control of the weight. Like when I'm doing tempo bench press, you know, like it might only be 245 pounds where I'm doing the tempo with, but it's so slow and controlled that, yeah, I could have did 245 for maybe 10 or 12 or 15. But when you're doing them so slow and you're holding the tension and you're keeping good form, it's a lot different, and it translates big time into your actual lifts, because you have control over what it is you're doing. So, and I would honestly say, you know, I've had a lot of little nagging injuries in the past, and I have a few little ones right now just from, you know, progressing a lot and lifting a lot. But I will say, since reinforcing my form better, you know, it's a lot more tolerable. But having better form now, having better control, being grounded better. But during my set, when I'd be all the way down in the bottom position at the pause, it didn't hurt. So the main things I want to review for this video on the program I'm doing is it allows me to recover. That's number one. A lot of people think, and I used to be hard-headed about this, my fiance, she always get on my ass about this, but I'd always be walking around in pain. It was just because I wanted to do heavy singles and doubles and just go balls to the wall every time, and then instead of sticking to a plan, I would just be like, fuck that today. And even now I still have that. I'm like, I don't want to do this today, I'd rather just go heavy. But then I'm like, that's not part of the plan. You know, you can't shit on the plan, you got to stick with it to keep making progress. And once you sit down and actually have a plan and execute it is when you can actually see progress. But when you just kind of abandon the plan all the time, you're gonna spin your wheels like crazy. So that's number one, is the recovery aspect of it. You need to allow yourself to recover. Don't get so caught up. It's like when people win the lottery, or when they lose in gambling. Like if they're gambling something and they lose, they get emotional. And they're like, okay, I got to play more. I got to play harder because I'm losing money. So I'm going to throw this money in and win all that back. But you can't have that mindset there, and you sure as hell can't have it lifting. You can't have that kind of mindset when you're in the gym and you're lifting, because you might show up one day and your warm-up sets might feel like shit, or they might not feel good. So you get all pouty and pissy pants and start going way too heavy to compensate for your hurt ego, and you just cannot do that. You never know. I've had a couple workouts like that lately, but I stuck to the plan and ended up actually progressing. I was like, oh, okay, I was just in my head. And I think that's important. Doing bench variations, doing squat, deadlift variations. If you're benching, try to do things that reinforce control over the weight. You can do reps. Reps are good. But you also have to do reps with things that put you in a disadvantage to where you can overcome it. Because that's what's going to take you through the heavy lifts. When you have the days where you got to do heavy triples, back down sets. Well, now since the last leg day or the last bench day you did a lot of reinforcement work. Now when you go to do these lifts, they feel a little bit easier on you. Close this out. You got anything you want to add to it before I...
Yeah, you mentioned RPE earlier. What is that?
That's rate of perceived exertion. So that's like, today was supposed to be an RPE 8, and I did a triple. I with that weight I was doing, I should have been able to do 5 reps if I wanted to. But the goal is to hold back, not to give it everything you got. So RPE 8 was how I achieved that. So 385, if I gave it everything I had and got 5 reps, that'd have been RPE 10 max. Down, but that's RPE.
Period.
Yeah. Anything else?
You touched on recovery. Is there a way specifically that you like to recover, or do you want to make a separate video on that?
No, I'll talk about recovery real quick. That's actually really important to what we're talking about.
Like
here.
how do you recover, or like specifically if you have a certain body part that you feel needs to be recovered, or do you just recover your body as a whole, you know, stuff like that?
So that's one side of things. That's systemic fatigue. So that's your whole body, right? That's like your whole system is overloaded and wore out. For that, you need rest. You need to either do an active rest day where like maybe you just walk or do Stairmaster or bike, do some low intensity stuff, eat a little bit more food, give your body some nutrients, rest, get some good sleep, take as many days off you feel like you need. The same thing with like an injury, like little nagging injuries. Now that I have this little nagging injury, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to, for the next 2 or 3 days, I'm going to put off lower body stuff, basically. I have another leg day coming up, and I'm probably going to postpone it because that's the leg day that triggers it the most. So I'm going to give it a little bit of time, do some walking, do some stretching, eat some more food, get some good sleep. If I absolutely need to go do that workout, I will dramatically decrease the weight, so I'm only putting a little bit of tension on it so it can recover, instead of just saying, okay, last week I did this much for 8 reps, and that's my target weight and target set. I'm back to weight down a little bit, not do that again. We'll just back it down a little bit. But more than likely, I'll let it rest for like 2 or 3 days, maybe do some upper body stuff, maybe not do anything. Get some rest, stretch, and let it heal. Because I used to have a mindset like, if I don't go in there and do this today, even though I'm hurt, I'm going to lose progress. But it's actually the opposite. If you don't go in there, you'll give your body time to recover everything, and you can continue to make progress. But when you hurt yourself and then you go again because you're afraid of losing progress, you keep going, what happens? You get all fucked up, like you can't do anything anymore. So now, not only can you not lift because you're fucked up, but now you can't lift as much as you would usually lift. So the weight, the work assessor are just totally counterproductive. And it's just, that's what ends up happening if you don't just take a step back and like humble yourself.
So how do you know when something is an injury or if it's something that you should push through? Because I think a lot of time in the gym, especially with men, it is very like, you know, push yourself, let's keep going. Like, you know, you're working out, things are gonna hurt, it's gonna, you know, it's not gonna be easy, it's gonna be hard. So how do you tell the difference when you need to let yourself rest and you need to push yourself?
That's a good question.
And we can save that for another video.
Nah, I can drop it here. The injury, you'll know an injury because it fucking hurts. You know an injury. If your muscles and shit, like if you're, like say I'm squatting, right? And I feel like my legs are starting to kind of cramp and stuff, obviously either I need to rehydrate, or they're really fried Like they're really fried from whatever it is I'm doing. Now, if I squat and my fucking knees hurt, they ache between sets, my knees just ache, you might have a little bit of a overuse, very minor overuse injury. If you hurt, if you're in pain and it's not muscular, like it's not muscular pain, like it's not like a hamstring or like a fucking quad or maybe your triceps are real tight feeling, as opposed to I have a really sharp fucking pain shooting down my arm, that's a very clear indicator that you have some overuse going on and you really need to do something about it. And again, rest, recover, take some time off of that specifically. Hell, you could do different angles or different variations or whatever lift is supposed to do. If you really feel like you need to go do it, just do something that's a little less strenuous in that position. Like if a flat bench hurts your shoulder, try an incline bench. It might not hurt at all, and that way you can keep benching.
So there's a difference between feeling tired and feeling pain.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you're feeling tired, that's
So try to push through fatigue, but try to listen to pain.
Yeah, try to be mindful of fatigue too, because fatigue leads to injuries sometimes. If you're fatigued, like today I was squatting and I can tell when my legs start getting a little bit fried or I don't brace properly, I don't really brace before I go down. Sometimes my hips will kind of shoot up, my back will shoot up a little bit, and now my back's doing a lot of lifting. And I, that's fatigue. My legs are so fried and my back's starting to compensate. Well, what happens next? Bam, I fucking pinch a nerve in my back, or I blow out a disc or whatever, and it's like I didn't have a pain to begin with, but now my fatigue is causing me to put myself in compromised positions to injure myself. So we touched on a lot. You got anything else? I mean, I'm gonna chop this video up. I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make it a little more digestible.
Yeah, I think it's important to, we work out to better ourselves, not to hurt ourselves. The goal is to become a stronger person mentally and physically, and sometimes we have to push ourselves, but we also have to listen to ourselves.
Yeah, especially
because if you end up hurting yourself, you got to do things out of love. You have to work out of love. Even if you have to push yourself or whatever, it can be hard love, it can be tough love, but it still needs to be love. You need to love yourself in order to, if you're not happy with yourself or anything like that, you're not going to get the results that you want. You're not going to, take the time to focus on yourself, look at your form and things like that.
Yeah, you seen how I used to be. That's how I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
She used to get on my ass about that all the time.
And that's how I used to be when I first started going to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, even as a woman, that was something, the threshold of, where is it too much or where is it not enough or,
Didn't exist.
Right. It's
like, I'm give it all I got or I'm not going to do it at all.
Right. It's balance. I think
I want to crawl out of this bitch on leg day.
Yeah, I think finding balance is really hard for everybody. And when you're new to the gym and you're just going in and, you're doing things for the first time, because we're all learning, we're all learning all the time. And you just got to be patient with yourself and love yourself. And let's see those guns. End the video off with the... Oh, yeah.
I wanted to say something real quick, too. What you just said, you love yourself, take care of yourself. Guys, if you want to have a future in it, you can't burn out too early, man. I know people say that, a lot of people think, oh, it's just people who take steroids burn out early. No, there's so many people. My little brother, he slipped, he herniated a fucking disc at like 19, 18 years old, and he was deadlifting. He wasn't even deadlifting like his heaviest weight. He was just warming up to the shit, but he was just so passionate and driven and didn't know when to stop, and just went in there all or nothing one day and just like that, bam, pop, just like that. His back fucking was gone, and he's back now and he can do stuff, but he can't do like the same stuff like he used to. It catches up to him and gets him a lot quicker. So you have to. And I would have been right there with him if I'd have kept on the way I was going. I had to learn a lot this last year about pacing myself, slowing it down. I thought strength training was about going as hard as you can every time. It's like, no, strength training is a lot of restraint. If you're in there going way too hard and too heavy all the time, like, you're going to be that fucking guy in the gym one day who just snaps his back and is fucking screaming in the gym, and everybody's like, yep, I seen that coming. I see how he lives. I see what he does. I knew that shit was gonna happen. Or one day you tear a fucking knee or something, you know, like you gotta take your time and build the foundation slowly. You can't just go in there and jump it like that. It just, you don't work. Like my tendon in my leg, I've been progressing kind of steady and slow, and still I'm having pain from it. So, but the difference is I know how to hold back. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go in there and give it everything I got when my program says otherwise.
Yeah, I think like with the gym, it's really cool when you get started and you're new and you feel powerful. You feel strong. You feel like, oh my gosh, I can lift this weight. And even as a beginner, you know, you might look at other people and say, oh, well, that's not as much as this person. But for you personally, like sitting there and being able to say, like, you know, even as a girl, like if you go in and you can only bench the bar and then you finally get to put like 2.5 pounds or 5 pounds on each side, you're like, I'm powerful, I'm strong, I can do this. And it gets really hard when you see that. It gets really hard to sit there and not say, oh, I want to go to the gym and lift as much as I can. It's really hard because it makes you feel awesome, and it makes you feel powerful, it makes you feel strong, it makes you feel capable, and that's such a good feeling to have. And it's hard to, you know, rein in. It's hard to bring that back and say like, yeah, I know that I can bench 140 as a woman, that's awesome, but I can't go in there and do that.
Flex,
You know, but I didn't start there.
No, you could only do like the 10s when you first started. Now you're like repping 115 and stuff, like.
Yeah, but it felt awesome as a woman to feel powerful and feel strong. I think a lot of times, like, and it's not just women, I mean even men, sometimes like things happen in your life and you don't feel powerful, you don't feel in control, you don't feel, there's a very big mental aspect to the gym. And I think that it's awesome when people connect the two. They connect the mental and the physical, and you bring it together, and it's an awesome world of I love myself, I feel powerful, I feel capable, I'm a badass, like I know I can do this. And you're not going to feel like that every day, and that's totally okay. Those are the days you come in and you show up, and you just be proud of yourself that you put on your hiking shoes and you went for a hike, you went to the gym, you did yoga, you did whatever. You're loving yourself, you're taking care of yourself, and you're listening to yourself. So it's super cool to unlock that part and unlock a new world for yourself.
Yeah. All right, well, I had more stuff to talk about, but how long was the video? Like 18 minutes?
24.
Holy shit.
We can cut it down. Yeah, that's okay.
Or we can chop it up into 2 videos. I'm gonna probably chop it up into 2.
That's okay. You want to bring your wife into it, so I got lots to ramble about too.
Yeah, we can both talk. All right, man.
One more flex.
I hope y'all. It's your boy.
Oh yeah, one more flex on the way up.
I'm out.